Consider if we are surrounding ourselves with, I always say, radiators or drains. So are you surrounding yourself with people that lift you higher and you can radiate energy from and with? Or are you surrounding yourself by people that when you're with, you feel like you need to go and have a lay down afterwards and you feel so completely negatively drained and you're like a Duracell battery that just run out?
mumtomillionaire.com.
Hello, it's Veena V, the founder of Mum to Millionaire. This is the channel if you want to get more motivated and finally take action in your life. Today's guest, you're going to love her so much. She's a mum of two. She's just released her book, Mind, Body and Soul, that's got to number one on the Amazon bestsellers list. And there's just you just do a whole heap of amazing stuff and you're so positive. I love your mindset. Please welcome to the show, Jaclyn Dunne. Woo, woo, woo.
Thank you.
Today, we're going to talk about something that's very close to your heart.
Yes.
And that I think a lot of people will take so many key takeaways from. And it's all about kind of de-stressing, getting those toxins out of your body and just living this positive and happy life.
Yes, we live in a very toxic world now, unfortunately. And usually when I speak to people about detoxing, because my company's called Mind and Body Detox, and they always say to me, oh my God, you're going to make me drink juices like a awful green colour, and that's not really what I mean when I say detoxing. Yeah. So yes, there's a place for that, for sure, but it's not the road that I take people down when I'm talking about detoxing. When I'm talking about detoxing, it's a little bit different. It's about the toxins that we're taking on a daily basis that we can all start to either completely eliminate, is best case scenario, or just reduce. And sometimes people will say to me, well, why do we need to reduce them? We've got detoxification organs that are absolutely fine with decreasing all of the toxins and flushing them out of the body. And unfortunately now, our detoxification organs are very overloaded with toxins. Right. So there's figures from the Global Healing Centre that said that it's not unusual for us to be exposed to 2.1 million toxins on a daily basis.
What?
Exactly. So when I first read that figure, I was like, well, where are they all coming from? Oh my God.
So where are they?
Exactly. So if you just like think about on a daily basis what you do. So you get up, you get in the shower, you use shower gel, you wash your hair with shampoo, conditioner, you then brush your teeth, you then have moisturiser and makeup.
I'm never going to get ready.
Well, you know, all of these things are fine. And I always say to people, it's the dose that makes the poison. It's just that now there are things that are approved by the FDA and the UK equivalent, but they're making it into our supplies of food, our supplies of skincare, our supplies of, you know, cleaning products. And these are having a huge toxic overload on our body. So if we know where they are and how to minimise them, then that's going to help our detoxification organs for sure. And then the other thing that I look at with people, which is really undervalued, is their environment and who and what they're exposing themselves to. So also not just your environment, because obviously that can be very full of pollution nowadays if you live in a city and you can't move house all the time. So it's not so much about that, it's more so about people, because I believe the most toxic part of the body is the mind.
Yes. We don't want those negative people in our lives.
No, and we have to consider if we are surrounding ourselves with, I always say, radiators or drains. So are you surrounding yourself with people that lift you higher and you can radiate energy from and with? Or are you surrounding yourself by people that when you're with, you feel like you need to go and have a lay down afterwards and you feel so completely negatively drained and you're like a Duracell battery that just run out?
I think we all have people
absolutely
in our lives where it is, you'll talk to them and then after you just feel deflated and it's like your emotions has been drained from your body.
And they are draining the energy and they go away feeling so buoyant because you've just given them all your energy, which is not a good thing. And, you know, there is no shame of eliminating them people from your lives. I don't mean like assassination type elimination. It's a bit extreme. bit extreme to get them people out. But there's no shame in, first of all, setting some boundaries and saying, you know, I can't expose myself to these people too often. So learning to say no to them.
Yeah.
But also, if the boundaries still get overcrossed, then you need to be able to say enough's enough, and I can't be surrounded by you. It doesn't matter if it's an old school friend. It doesn't matter if it's a partner. If a relationship is becoming toxic to the point where it is destroying your health, your self-belief and your mindset, then you need to really minimise the exposure that you have with these people.
And before we get into that, and maybe give you some more practical tips as well, because I think it is always, I always say this to people, it's always easier said than done. You know, when people come to you with advice and I'll be like, yeah, do this and that. And I'm like, I know it's easier said than done, but we still really need to address this. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. Before we do, I want to talk more about how you got to this stage, because I think a lot of us mums, we have the similar kind of starting blocks, in the sense that we were doing a job and then we have our children and then we're like, this isn't working anymore. So tell us more about that.
Okay,
so you do, let me do this, because that's going to mean I'm going to edit your video otherwise.
So going back to my previous job, in a previous life, 15 years ago, I was an accountant, which is a job that I never really wanted to do. I just did it because I left school and I went to work in a company, and they said, how about you go in the accounts department? And how about you take some exams? And before you knew it, I was qualified and earning a bit more money, and had a mortgage and earning a bit more money, and had responsibilities and earning a bit more money, and then you look behind you and you think that road is really, really long to walk back on now. So I'll just have to stay. And then lots of crazy events happened in my life. So I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, which I just kind of took on the chin and carried on regardless. I then lost my mum, who was ill for 10 years, but when I lost her, it was still a massive shock. And then 5 days later, I lost my dad, which is always like, people always say to me, were they in a car accident? Like, no, they hadn't actually been together for 30 years. And they go, well, they must have been soulmates. No, they didn't actually like each other that much.
No, they didn't. Now you're just making excuses for something now.
We're both 64, and they died of diet and lifestyle related conditions, and it all could have been avoided. And that was the big punch on the nose that I needed to go, I need to change my life because I don't like my job.
Had you had your children at that point?
Yes, I had my children. So I was working in the city when I got married and fell pregnant initially, and then took maternity leave, and I had to take quite a lot of maternity leave because of my autoimmune condition, which is pernicious anemia. You don't make B12 anymore, or you don't absorb it. And any B12 that I was getting through injections, the baby was taking. So from about 6 weeks pregnant, I was so exhausted. To come down the stairs, I had to come down on my bottom because I felt so dizzy. I was frightened I'd fall. So I signed off from 6 weeks pregnant, and I had 4 blood transfusions, 3 iron infusions in both my pregnancies. So I've struggled through pregnancy, and even that wasn't the punch on the nose that I was looking for. Went back to work after having my children, but just 3 days a week, and went to work for a more local company. But wasn't very fulfilling, and I was just doing it to get a little bit of money, whereas before I was doing it because it paid bills. But I was lucky because my husband could bridge the gap there with his income. But this is what happens with mums, isn't it? We work so hard to get into a position to have this credibility and to have this salary and to be accepted into the workforce, and then we fall pregnant, and then we're just somebody's mum that does a bit of part-time work.
And no one knows your name. Like, I'm just like my son's name at school. Mum. Mum.
Yeah, that's
Mum
it.
of that child.
That's it. You're just someone's mum, and you completely lose your identity. Usually you lose your figure as well. And your social life. So you make a lot of sacrifices as a mum, and you lose a lot of the things that you've worked hard for. So I was in this place where I just wasn't really happy with who I was, what I was doing. I'd become bottom of the pecking order, which mums often do. My illness was being put on the back burner. And then it was when losing my mum and dad that made me realise I need to make some changes. So I did. I went to study something that I was really engaged with, which was hypnotherapy. then realised that hypnotherapy can be complemented by nutrition, especially if you're working with weight management. So I went to study nutrition as well. Yeah. So then within 2.5 years, I had a diploma in hypnotherapy, nutrition, and then went on to study holistic health and holistic health coaching, which I still study now. I'm obsessed with it. And so I really kind of started to pave the way for a new career.
Yeah.
And
what would you say to those mums? Because what happened to you was so, I can't imagine losing parents. It's so emotional. It's so drastic as well in a short space of time. What would you say to the mums that maybe they are, in that full-time job, working in the city right now, but they just want to have a business, or they're passionate about something else? How can they take that step? Because I think a lot of people sadly never will. They just stay, like you said, because we've come so far in a specific career, we don't want to look back and then think, but we've come all this way now, we can't take that leap, and so many people never do.
It's difficult because you are thinking about your income, so you're thinking about the fact that if you walk away from that, how you're going to replace it. And the truth is, you don't replace it quickly. So you have to be in a position to bridge that gap. Yeah. And I was lucky because I was married and my husband was able to do that with his salary. Not everybody's in that position, but that's no reason to say, well, I can't do it then, because with my course, my initial course, hypnotherapy, it was a weekend course, and I could still work, do my job, and then go and study at the weekends. Yeah. Obviously, I had to find the money to fund my studying, but even with that, there's some funding. So having a look to see what do you want to go into, and can it be funded? Can your studying be funded? If it can't be funded, if you're to find a course that you can still work and cover the cost of studying, because lots of these courses, they will allow you to pay as you go. Yeah. So it can be done. It absolutely can be done.
And I think you brought up a point there, in the sense that, when you always see that like mum, her hair's all glossy, she's got a baby and a laptop, that is not reality. So if you haven't started your business yet, don't get fooled by that. And I don't think and I understand that people don't want to put themselves out there, but that's why I do Mum to Millionaire, is to let you know the reality. You might not make money, you might not get clients for a few years, you might have to I've taken such a massive pay cut. It's only now it's slowly starting to work. So just bear that in mind. So I'm glad you brought that up as well, because it's not that easy. It's great. We've got the flexibility now. I can go and see my son in the school play and stuff, but you will take a pay cut.
Yeah, you will. And do you know what? It doesn't actually matter, because when you have that realisation that everything that you was working for is so insignificant. So, for example, you was working to be able to take your children on holiday every year. You was working so you could have a certain car, a certain size house. If they're the things that you are working for, not everybody is. Some people are working just to get food on the table. But in my world, they were the things. It was extra, and it was unnecessary. It was unneeded, and it didn't have a massive impact in mine or my children or my husband's life. So much so that when I then started to do my studying and take on clients and have this enormous sense of job satisfaction, my husband kind of went, oh my God, you're really happy. I want to be too. Because he was still working in town, and he was still a company director, leaving home at 5 a.m, not getting back till 10 o'clock at night, having his phone on through the night. And he kind of just went, I want a little bit of your pie. Well, how can I get a little bit of your pie? So we then went a step further, and he then retrained to complement what I do as a personal trainer.
Wow.
And
this is like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, we're definitely soulmates. So yeah, he then did that. So then my income had not replaced what I'd lost, let alone what he was going to lose as well. So it's massive, but it's amazing where you can cut corners. And
I think it's having the confidence to take that risk.
It is, but what you get back
is
the happiness and the sense of satisfaction, and the fact that your children have incredible role models now, because you're instilling them into them a level of self-belief that they wouldn't get anywhere else. And plus they love the fact that mummy and daddy can come to Harvest Festival and Nativity, and we just have to juggle a few clients around, but we can both get there at some point. And that was never the case before. It was a lot of disappointed faces all the time, which that's what you are foregoing that salary for. So is that big salary, fast car, children in private school, big house worth it? Is it? Because that's
and everyone's answer to that will be different. Maybe to some people it is, and that's fine for you if it is, but just really it's about being true to yourself. What does actually make you happy? And
I will tell you that my, they have World Book Day at school, and my daughter said to me, on the next World Book Day, I'm going to go as you, mummy, because you're a person in a book.
Oh, don't! You're going to make me cry.
But how cute is that?
That's so. You must have felt so proud.
That never would have happened as an accountant.
I go as an accountant, Mum. That's amazing. Like, you're being that inspiration, that role model for your
absolutely.
Your kids
and
as
they took the book into school, and they were like, look, my mummy's written a book, and they are priceless. They're the moments that are priceless, and you can't. There's no amount of income that could give you that. No way.
Exactly. Let's talk more now about. I think this is the thing that a lot of us need: negativity.
Yes.
And like getting these toxins out of us as well. But let's talk about these negative people first. I think we all have negative people. Unfortunately, it might be a parent.
Yeah.
It might be a sibling. It might even be your best friend. How can we truly do what we want to do without this? And it's hard, isn't it? No matter how positive you are, no matter how much you work on your mindset, there's always going to be somebody there just trying to drag you down.
Always. And it's tough, and there are tools in the book. So there's a chapter called Your Vibe, Your Tribe in the mind section of the book, and this is about raising your vibration to attract your tribe. Now, what I found when I lost my mum, I had quite a lot of people, quite a lot of friends around me that when I lost my mum, they didn't message, they didn't send a card, and they didn't come to the funeral. And that was kind of like, oh, okay, so are they actually friends? And then when you actually look back, and I always say to my daughters, you never truly lose friends, you just find out who your true ones are. You don't actually lose anybody, because people that are your friends will stay with you forever. And I realised that these weren't actually my friends, they weren't my tribe, but the reason that I was around them and with them, because my vibration was low, and that's kind of who I'd attracted. So like attracts like, and I was with them because in some way I was trying to get validated by them. I don't know, I'm not sure, but they were the people that I'd found around me in my life. And you watch my wedding video now, it's hilarious, because literally I go, I don't know them anymore, I don't know them anymore. Cut
them out. There's one person left, it was there.
It is so funny. And it's not like we've had a big fallout and I've gone, that's it, I don't want you in my life, you're toxic. That's not happened. We've changed. We're not the same anymore. My vibration is different to them, and we don't have that match anymore. And that's something I had to work quite a lot on. So what can you do to raise your vibration? There's so much that you can do to raise your vibration. You can... Food is a big one. So are you eating food that brings your vibration down? You know, and we look... It's ironic, because the things that we look for quick fixes to lift us up are the ones that in the long term that are going to bring us down. Things like caffeine and sugar, and all your sticky processed stuff.
Like, I love a good jacket potato, but sometimes if I eat one, I don't really feel that great after. But if I've had something like salmon with a salad or something, I feel so much more better, and sometimes you don't notice that.
Reason being is because jacket potato is very high in starch, so it's simple sugars, so it will bring you up really quickly, but it also bring you down really quickly. So you get that big whoosh, you get the big drop, and then you're looking for something else to fulfill you, and you're also feeling a bit sluggish, a bit tired, because your body takes longer to process that kind of stuff. But in reverse, if you're having something that has lots of nutrient density to it, then obviously it's going to fuel you differently. It's going to give you sustainable energy rather than big peaks and troughs of energy. And you'll just feel a lot of mental clarity. Salmon in particular, because it's so rich in healthy fats, is really good for cognitive health. So if you're thinking about, I've got brain fog and I have that 3 o'clock slump, then something that's really rich in healthy fats like avocado, nuts and seeds, oily fish, that's going to give you a lift much better than a donut and a Starbucks. Much better.
And you feel better after, and it's true.
You do, you absolutely do. So yeah, food can raise your vibration. You can do things that just instantly make you feel better. So everyone's going to laugh at this one, but since about mid-November, I've had Magic Christmas on in my car. And literally people get in my car and they're like, it's November, Jack. I'm like, I know, but I love it. And the reason I do that is because Christmas gives me a feeling of happiness that you don't get any other time of the year. So why should what do I need to wait till the 1st of December to get that feeling?
Exactly. Why do you have to wait?
It raises my vibration. I can literally feel it. It evokes memories and feelings of a happy childhood and running down the stairs shouting, he's been, and all of that. And why do we have to pigeonhole that into a certain time of year? So if that's what raises your vibration, then you don't have to put Magic Christmas in the car. But if you've got a certain artist, a certain album that instantly lifts you, then have it on standby and play it all the time when you need that lift.
I was literally about to say that. I think it's find what makes you happy. And the specific song I listen to at the moment, like I love Sam Smith and Adele.
Me too.
It just makes me think about.
It's very down. Yeah, I don't know. That can bring you down on your vibration.
Like, I'm not going to get married now. I'm going to do this. So I've got a specific song I'm listening to at the moment. Like the lyrics, it's just an upbeat, like house, like party song. It just makes me feel good.
Absolutely.
And it does take me out. If I start going on this downward spiral, I'll literally put that on now and just dance around my house.
Yeah, so you'll notice, you can feel it. You can feel it within you that your vibration is shifting. And that's just energy. We're all made up of different energy, different cells, and that's just the shift of energy that goes on. I don't know if anyone really believes in kind of the moon and stars and how the shift of energy happens there. But when there's a full moon, certain countries, because there's a shift, the planets shift and there's a change in the energy of the planets, and the certain countries will put more police out on a full moon. Because people have more anger. And that's where the term lunatic comes from.
Oh, what? Never knew that. You learn something new every day.
Yes. So, a wonderful friend of mine, Ella, who's a transformational breath coach, told me that. So but that is true. So it's all about energetic shifts. So is raising your vibration is just about shifting the energy within you, so that it is more uplifting. Then because everything vibrates at different energy levels. So. Something that's very solid and dense will have a low vibration, but something like air and oxygen has a high vibration. So it's about shifting the energy within you and finding ways to do that. So
and I think in life it changes as well. Like you were saying before, I think we all do this when you're friends with a specific group of people, but because you were on the same frequency or vibe as them. But as you... And I don't know if you've ever noticed this when you go to networking events. Sometimes you're gravitated towards specific people.
Absolutely.
But then a few years later, because you've changed as a person, and then you meet someone, you're like, oh my God, that's my kind of person when you meet them.
But there's no shame in the fact that people change. Yeah. And actually, it would be really worrying if we didn't, because there'd be no evolution. So... it's okay to not be involved with certain people anymore because you just don't vibe off of them. That's fine, and actually they probably don't want to be mixing with you either because they haven't got the same vibe from you that they used to have. And that's fine. You don't have to never speak to them again. You just naturally, organically see them less and less. And
in terms of if that negative person is a close family member or a specific best friend, I mean, one thing I used to do, I mean, my parents aren't negative people, but they never understood what I did in the media industry when I was in the media industry. So then I would still call them, but I just would not talk about my job. So is there anything else that if that person is a close family member, is it stuff like that? Obviously still talk to them, but just don't talk about specific.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that I do. So I've got a few friends that are a few friends left that are from
the one person
that one person that's still here from back in the day at school, and we have we don't she even says to me, I don't actually know why we're friends, because we have nothing in common anymore. But we've got 30 years of friendship history, and we still will find other stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
So I don't try and ram my beliefs down her throat unless she specifically asks me about them, and vice versa. She won't try and push her stuff onto me, because we're different like that. But that's because we've got a mutual respect. When a relationship becomes toxic is when people try to railroad through your beliefs and your values and try and force theirs down your throat and try and tell you that you are wrong and they are right. And there's no respect there. And that's when they have gone through your boundaries, and you don't have to take that anymore. And that's when it's time to either, if you've continuously set boundaries and they've just ploughed through them, then that's when it's time to say, you know, I'm going to take a huge step back here. And if that means, you know, not answering their calls for a little while, or making excuses when they're inviting you out because it actually is a disservice to you to be around them, then so be it. Because the person that we have to look after in this life, and it's something that I tell all my clients, is number one. You have to look after yourself, because even as a parent, parents often say to me, well, my children are far more important. Well, there is nobody on this planet that will love, cherish and care for your children like you will. So if anything happens to you because you haven't looked after yourself, then what's going to happen to them? So always put yourself first. It's why on an aeroplane we are told, put your own oxygen mask on before you put the child's on. And that's what we need to do. So don't feel like you're being selfish. Don't feel like you are not being fair, because they're not being fair either, because they've ploughed through your boundaries.
Yeah. I just love everything that you have said. What would be the last, I don't know, that baby step that a mum listening to this right now can take and we talked about it more at the beginning of this podcast as well, in terms of like, they just want to start a business. They want to do something that they're finally passionate about. Because I think we can get overwhelmed, and YouTube and listening to podcasts, blog posts, it's amazing. There's so much information out there, but I feel that because there's now so much information, we're all consuming and no one's taking enough action. So what would be that actionable baby step that someone could really take now?
Well, you've kind of said it in the question. I think that if you don't have access to retrain or do any of those things, but you already have a skill set that you want to then take out into your own business, then get it out there. Because now we have access to social media and YouTube, and we can vlog and we can blog and we can put content out there without it costing a penny. It's not like we have to pay a newspaper to print our article. You have a Facebook page that you can put whatever you want in, and then you can boost that post if you want to. So test the water to see if there is a need out there for what you want to provide people with. Because if you provide it and it gets a lot of likes, a lot of shares, can you send me some more information on this, then you already know you have a viable business. Exactly. So just test the water by using social media to see if, you see posts all the time. Oh, I made one of these for my friend and she really likes it, so is anyone else interested
That's a perfect kind of post to do.
Is anyone else interested in me? And then you see like 20 comments going, oh yeah, they're amazing, can you? And she might have just kind of blinged a photo frame up or something, but you've got a business right there. And if it's supply and demand, right? So just test the water. Is there demand for what you're supplying?
And in terms of motivation, if again, I should stop saying mums, because I know dads listen to this as well. If a mum or dad's listening to this and they've literally now they've lost hope, they've listened to what you've just said, they're like, well, whatever. They're just and I think we've all been there when you have just lost that determination, that motivation, just to even go for your dreams. What would you say to the parents out there about that?
It's tough when you're that low, but I'd ask you to look at where was you when you lost your belief? What happened? Who took it away from you? Or has it just been chipped away over time? But believe whatever's happened, whether it's been chipped away over time or whether it's something that just got swiped from underneath you, you can build it back up as quickly as it was lost. You absolutely can, because I say it at the end of the book, you have everything you need to be the change that you want to be. Everything's inside you. You have all the answers. It's just about digging deep enough to find them. And it's not hard work. And I think one mistake that we make quite a lot is we keep looking externally for answers. Who can help me? Who can fix me? No one's coming to save you. You have to save yourself.
This is not a Disney film.
It's not. I'm really sorry. It's not. But that's okay that no one's coming to save you, because you have everything you need to save yourself. You have everything there.
That is so, oh, I love this woman. She's so cute. She looks so good. Oh my God, it's amazing. Make sure you get Jaclyn's book. It's on Amazon at the moment, Mind, Body, Miracle. And I need to get myself a copy of this, because what you've said, I think, is just so important. And there's always something different, isn't there, when you're reading a book. It's just amazing. Also go to the website. We're going to put all of Jaclyn's links to the book and everything else on there, mumtomillionaire.com/episode 76. You're amazing.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming on the show, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
It's all time.